Welcome, everyone. Joe Tarnowski here, and with me again is Bethany Gomez with Brightfield Group. And today we're going to go over their latest research report, Stronger and Healthier Trends in American Health. And it's based on insights from Brightfield's AI powered social listening tool. And I think this is great for January, right? It's a really
Mhm.
popular topic. Everyone's trying to get back into shape after the holidays. So thanks for joining us. And to start off, can you give a high level overview of the findings, and then we'll kind of dig into each segment?
Absolutely. Well, pleasure to be here again, Joe. So I'm excited to dig into the findings here. So as we get into winter here, we're dead in the middle of winter, and consumers are looking to protect their immunity, and they're looking at some new and interesting ways to do that. And they're also obviously looking at weight loss. Now, weight loss looks a bit different this year than it has in previous years, and that's in no small part due to the Ozempic craze that has really taken the world by storm, both in the semaglutide injections, but also in terms of all of the supplements that have kind of rolled on as as tag along effects there as well. So lots going on in the weight loss area, and will impact consumers in different ways than previous years. But also, in addition to just losing weight, consumers are looking to get strong, and they're looking at some different ways to do that. Women in particular, I think, have been, embracing different ways of getting strong here, and, certainly jumping on the protein bandwagon. And we've seen an incredible amount of momentum around that, protein trend to really help drive, strength training and support athletic performance there.
Excellent. And it's funny, because when I read the report, I realized I'm like, wait a minute. I've already seen all of these things happening and participate in these conversations. I'm always wondering, your tool is probably scraping some of my data too, because I'm involved in that group of
I'm
people.
sure we are, Joe. I'm sure we are. We've got your J
So
Tarnowski
I
popping
validated
all
the
over.
information. So yeah, let's get started with the first one, immunity, right? I mean, look, it's this is now flu season. Everybody seems to be getting these colds that are come and go, come and go. I've
Mhm.
been getting like a little tickly cough, not anything big, just very little, but it comes and then it goes for a few days, then it comes back for a day, then it goes. So immunity is, and then obviously since the pandemic, immunity has just been such a big thing. So what are people talking about, and what are they looking to buy to kind of help their immunity?
Absolutely. So the consumers that are buying are pretty much the same this year as they have been, previously. We've got upper and middle income consumers, particularly those that are millennial and Gen Xers, that are, looking for immunity products to help boost, protect themselves and their families this flu season. Have a tendency of, skewing upper income and, urban, suburban dwelling, and much more health conscious in nature. Some of the products they're turning to are pretty much the tried and true products: ginger, vitamins D, vitamin C, zinc, turmeric. Are all seeing kind of their typical seasonal boosts there, as consumers look to use those products. But we've seen some new exciting ingredients start to take hold as well. So spirulina has been one of the more recent ones that has been taking off. We saw incredible growth, over the last couple of quarters here on social media. This is a blue-green algae that has both antiviral and antioxidant properties, but it also is high in protein. So that helps with some of the other trends that we'll speak to a little bit more later.
I think the
Um,
vegans actually, in particular, love algae, love
yes,
spirulina because that and I think chlorophyll, they have the full, complete amino acids. And there's only a
absolutely.
handful of different herbs and plants that have the whole, all of the essential amino acids.
Absolutely. So definitely a vegan favorite there, that's for sure. Moringa is another one that has anti-inflammatory properties, very high in vitamin C, very high in antioxidants as well. And then a recent one is kind of a more new superfruit, Amla, which is more of the Indian gooseberry. It is thought to not only have antiviral and antioxidant properties, but is also thought to really enhance the activity of the white blood cells as well.
Okay.
So this has been taking hold in both, supplement form, as well as in, powdered form and more kind of ready to drink products as well.
Gotcha.
So
And
healthy
what
mix between the tried and true and some of the newer ingredients in there.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm hearing a lot about spirulina as well. And the functional beverages you touched on a little bit in the report, and that seems to be that's more of a I guess delivery preference,
Yeah,
right? For
one
some
thing
people.
that Oh, sorry to interrupt.
Oh
One
no,
thing
no,
that
this yeah.
our analyst team found was really interesting is that those consumers that were buying, that were looking for immunity products actually had a tendency of over indexing on the purchase of many different functional
Mhm.
beverages. So they love, love, love functional beverages. And so they're looking for hydration and they're looking for a wide variety of different products. So some of those are immunity based products,
Mhm.
immunity based beverages. So kind of a as you're mentioning, a delivery mechanism, but it also kind of echoes an opportunity because many of them are consuming a lot of other functional beverages as well. Things like kombucha, things like, tea with adaptogens, a wide variety of different functional beverages. So, there's more and more opportunity with those consumers that are, love functional beverages. They're willing to pay more for that premium. I have a very high level of correlation with immunity consumers. So release a lot of immunity lines if you have a functional bev. I
Yeah,
think is kind of the the
and
story there.
mushroom supplements, and
Yes.
spoiler alert,
Mhm.
we are going to be they did do a report on mushrooms, which Bethany and I will be talking about in our next video. But
Mhm.
mushrooms have a lot of immune boosting powers to them, and I
Mhm.
know they're in supplements, they're in obviously you can eat them directly, and then there's a lot of mushroom beverages. I have mushroom coffee in my cupboard right now.
Mhm. Absolutely. Mushroom coffee, mushroom based snacks,
Hmm.
mushrooms as functional ingredients included in even bars and, protein bars, things like that. So they're really kind of hitting the wide spectrum of products, everything from supplements down into, all aspects of functional foods. Mushrooms are hot right now, that's for sure. So
And I think they're gonna continue to be hot for a while because there's so much you can do with them.
absolutely.
So moving on to weight loss. This is always a big topic at this time of year.
Yeah.
January, everyone's looking to shed the pounds that they gained in the previous month. So what are you finding in social media conversations in the weight loss area?
Yeah. Well, the all the conversations around weight loss in 2023, or the conversation dominating weight loss conversations, I should say, in 2023 was really all about Ozempic and those Ozempic alternatives, all the semaglutide injections there. More than 5% of American adults reported getting at least one semaglutide injection
Hmm.
in 2023, which is crazy. That's the same amount of consumers that are using energy shots.
Yeah.
So this is a very large and growing base. Ozempic, Wegovy, and these other products were far and away the fastest growing products in terms of social media conversations of anything that we track across food, bev, supplements, wellness, anything. Far and away the fastest growing products. And this was based not only off of, the status it gained in the press from, celebrity endorsements and, a lot of celebrities like, Khloe Kardashian, Oprah Winfrey, talking about how they've used them. But they're really, hitting the masses, and, creating a lot of very polarizing conversations. So there's both kind of the, pharmaceutical products, the branded pharmaceutical products. There's also unbranded products being sold through med spas. right now. And then there's also now all of these more kind of supplement alternatives, to the semaglutide injections that are, taking hold. So we've seen extensive growth in products like berberine, which has been, billed as nature's Ozempic and is more of a, alternative that's supposed to have similar effects where they, really force the people consuming them to, cut down on, their snacking. It really kills appetites and will make you physically ill at times if you're consuming, if you're eating too much. And so that inositol, also another product that has been, getting some attention, there as well. But this has really, changed the way that consumers are thinking about weight loss and even changed the way that consumers are approaching snacking and food. If you become physically ill, if you are going to, snack, if you're going to eat products, then you're naturally going to obviously reduce, your consumption of those products. And this has the food industry absolutely terrified.
Mhm.
So this has even been kind of attributed to some of the decline in packaged food sales in 2023 as well. So time will tell while this is a staying trend. We do still see social media conversations and growth continue to rise there. So this trend has certainly not peaked yet. We certainly see more and more products, conversations around Wegovy is even higher than Ozempic, at the moment, or growing faster than
Mhm.
Ozempic at the moment. And so we expect to see a lot more in the way of, copycat products or products trying to, jump on that bandwagon or be able to, gain some of the halo of those,
Mhm.
those products, and some adjacencies there. So,
Yeah.
as brands, as we think about kind of way people are thinking about weight loss this year, some of them are going back to basics and doing kind of the good old tried and true, methods, cut out, go natural, and others are looking for some help. And these products really are game changers, I think, for the weight loss industry.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a ton of stuff, a lot of podcasts that I listen to, they talk about it. What's interesting is like I didn't realize until I read a Business Week story that Wegovy was owned by Weight Watchers, and it had
Mhm.
a huge backlash from the traditional Weight Watcher members because they're like,
Right.
wait a minute, you're telling us to lose weight through diet, and now you buy the shortcut, you know? So there
Yeah.
was a big backlash there. I've also heard and read about a lot of one, they're expensive, so you're spending anywhere from 800 to 1200 a month on that,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
two, it's there are some side effects that are
Yeah.
can be really bad in some people, including what they call a stone stomach or whatever. Like it really hardens the tissue of the stomach over a long period
Mhm.
of time, and it loses all of its flexibility. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to it, what happens over the next couple of years as
Yeah.
it gets more widespread use. But it definitely is a trendy thing.
Yes.
You see people videos injecting themselves with it, and then you're getting a lot of telehealth providers that are doing selling it too.
Yep.
So I see the TV. I just saw a TV commercial. I think it was Roman, the one that does like the hair stuff.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, they have like a version of it too.
Yep. Mhm.
I forget what it's called, but yeah, it's definitely something that's big. But for all that money that you're spending, you could just get a nice gym membership and a personal
Right.
trainer and a
Right.
dietitian for
If
each
you're
month.
willing to put in the work, Joe, you can do
That's
that,
well, I
right?
think that's the problem is everybody wants the magic bullet that's going to do it.
Everybody wants their
So,
shortcuts,
and look,
that's
these
for
things
sure.
work for some people, but are you going to be stuck with it forever? Or eventually, once you stop doing it, will you be able to maintain? So
Right. That's
that's the question.
that's the question, and that's why these products are so polarizing. That's for
Yeah.
sure. So,
Well, the last topic, and this is interesting because especially with me and my peer group, right, people in their 50s that are starting work, really focusing on longevity, strength and muscle
mhm.
building has become a much bigger conversation over the
Hmm.
past few years in terms of how all of the benefits that come from it in terms of one, metabolism, right?
Hmm.
Easier, keeps your insulin sensitivity if you have a lot of good lean muscle mass. Two, strength. The older you get, the less you don't want to fall. And if you do fall,
Hmm.
you want to make sure you're protected. You want to have stability, and then just bone density, and that comes with strength too. Because if you're
Yeah.
lifting, has nothing to do with protein, but the stronger your muscles are, the more the stronger and thicker your
Mhm.
bones tend to be. So, what are you
Yeah.
seeing as far as protein and strength?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you're hitting the nail on the head in that, the way that
Told you I was
Americans
one of your users. I was one of the people that you're listening to.
I think the way that Americans are thinking about weightlifting and strength training has really evolved over the last couple of years here. It's not weightlifting is not just for, your Jersey Shore guys
Mhm,
that want to get ripped, right? It's not just for young men who are trying to kind of build themselves up. I
mhm,
think it's, really being seen more as kind of a way to focus on longevity, to protect yourself, to make yourself strong. And older Americans are thinking about this and are more open to approaching strength training. Women in particular, I think, even a few years ago, it was much less common for women to embrace weightlifting. There was a much more of a perception that this was going to make you
mhm.
bulky, or this was going to make you look like those women, female bodybuilders, and we don't want that. It was
Yeah,
more of
as
a,
if it happened overnight. It's like they look in the
right.
mirror, it's like, "Oh, crap, I have muscles." Yeah.
It was more of the Pilates or the yogas or,
Mhm,
things like that for strength training. But I think, the approach has been evolving more and more towards, yes, lifting weights is, part of a healthy, athletic person's regime. And you don't have to be a weightlifter. You don't have to kind of be, looking a, performance athlete to engage in some level of weightlifting.
mhm.
And if you are, weightlifting and you are taking your strength training more seriously, then support your muscles, right? And I think that's what we're seeing, right now. There's been a huge trend on TikTok, on Pinterest, on Instagram, around this, goal of getting 30 G's of protein, right?
Yeah.
30 G's of protein for women.
You know where I
And
think that came from? I think that came from Tim Ferriss. In his 4-hour body book, he had
mhm,
a whole thing called 30 grams of protein 30 minutes after waking. And
yeah,
that was the whole thing. And a lot of people tried it and said that they saw a lot of weight loss where within 30 minutes of waking up, you have a meal that includes 30 grams of protein. And it's so I think it started with him with 4-hour body. And from there, it's just become a popular number for that.
yeah, that's really interesting. And, so many of these weight loss trends really come from, or kind of health and, athletic performance trends really come from, key books, key
Yeah.
authors, influencers that people, are suggesting new things, and people, really cling to that. And with, the use of TikTok, of Instagram, of, the platforms, social media platforms like that, they can just spread like wildfire in ways that may have required much heavier PR budgets in the past, right? For
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
like Atkins to take off.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Right. When you actually had to send out press releases and do stuff like that.
yes.
I think the other thing it came from also is 30 grams, I think, is the number of grams of protein that you require to start certain kind of reactions in your body as far as catabolism goes, as far as muscle
Yeah.
building.
Mhm.
If you have too much, like 60 grams in one sitting, you end up peeing out half of
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
think the nitrates or nitrogen in it. But 30 grams, and you're supposed to do that each meal so that you
Mhm.
spread it out until you reach the total amount of protein that you're supposed to hit for the day. But I think that's the magic number where it starts spurring on that
Yeah.
the not the anabolic state where you're
Anabolic.
growing, not
Yep. Mhm.
catabolic, which is when you're losing. Anabolic state.
Yes, absolutely. So we're back on the high protein trend for 2024. This is kind of where we see a lot of this going. Plant-based is, while still around, it's less in the forefront of everyone's minds. Kind of back onto the protein, trend this year.
Gotcha.
So, mhm.
So, I had a couple of questions that kind of span all three, right? So, we talked about specific supplements related to immunity, related to weight loss, related to protein, right? And creatine is a big one. What about other types of supplements that are kind of impact each of those three, but in different ways? For example, you have sleep, right? Sleep is important for muscle growth. It's important for weight loss. It's important for immunity. So what about, supplements or things for sleep? And then same by the same token, things for the gut, whether it's probiotics or whatever, but gut health is also very important for all three of those. Are you seeing that in the conversations or how is that performing?
Yeah, so when it comes to sleep, sleep remains a very important thing in the front and foremost of people's minds. So I think we had a report out last year called "Sleep is the New Sex." Right? It's everybody. It's one of the fastest growing need states. That people are talking about and really looking for alternatives for. So, we see high growth in magnesium, holding on there. Melatonin and CBD are really the top three products that people are really looking to for sleep right now. Although, as we analyze the functional beverages market, there's a lot more that is coming up in the functional beverages market of products that are positioned for sleep as well. So I think we'll continue to see more launches in that area in 2024 and beyond. But sleep remains very important.
Yeah. And you're
Um,
also seeing other things outside of supplements. You'll have the different rings and gadgets to measure your sleep. You'll have the
yes.
sleep
Mhm.
blankets that cool you off before you go to bed.
Mhm.
You have white noise radios. You have
Mhm. All
radios
the
with
apps that
timers, all
people
the
are
apps.
using. Yeah,
So
all of
there's
the
so much stuff tied to that.
Mhm.
What
Yeah,
about the probiotics in the gut?
so probiotics are actually an ingredient that they were skyrocketing in the first half of
Hmm.
2022. Everybody was talking about probiotics. Throughout 2023, the volume of conversations around them has actually declined significantly. So
Hmm.
that's continued to go down and down there. And while gut health remains important in the minds of consumers, I think, prebiotics, probiotics are kind of past the peak of their moment that they had,
Hmm.
last year. We still see tremendous growth in a lot of focus on things like fermented foods
Okay.
that are gaining a lot of attention there.
Hmm.
Everything was pickled in 2023. And so
So
looking,
I
Mhm.
think so. It seems that so gut health, they still believe it's important. They're just going about it in different ways.
Yes. Mhm.
Maybe maybe a little less supplements and more natural, whether it's high fiber. I'm a big fan of sauerkraut. I get that,
Yeah.
and I look for the sauerkraut that's got the active cultures in it, so it's got to be
Absolutely.
refrigerated. It just happens to be delicious too. The pickling thing, I think, also started during the pandemic when people started making their own pickles and their own sauerkraut and learning how to
Yeah.
ferment them and stuff. Kimchi,
Well,
I'm
and
not a
using
big
all the
fan of though.
kimchis and all of
Not a
the
fan of kimchi.
yeah.
I love
Either, to be
sauerkraut, don't like
honest, but
kimchi.
yeah,
So,
pickled onions
mhm,
and all of those things were definitely made their way into the forefront. I think at some events we went to last year, I think at Expo West, I feel like just about everything was pickled
mhm. Yeah.
last year.
And what's interesting is when it comes
Mm,
to the gut and immunity, and I think the reason why we're getting so many, like everybody I know's got a cold. I'm dealing
mm,
with like a little hint of a cough now. Um, but I have friends that have had been sick, then fine, then sick again, then fine. And I know you have COVID, RSV, and the flu going around. But I also think that because so many people stayed inside and away from people and completely sanitized during all of the pandemic,
mm,
they lost a bit of their immunity capabilities. Instead of
definitely. Mhm.
being out there in the dirt, mixing it up with people and
Yeah. Mm,
building up their own systems by the nature of, doing that, they kind of over sanitize themselves. And
mm,
now they're even more susceptible to smaller things
mm.
that normally they would have not even felt.
Mhm.
pre-pandemic, but now their immune system's gotten a little weaker, so I think they got to build it up too.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're spot on. And yep, I have one colleague that had COVID 3 times, which is crazy. Or, colleagues that are,
I've
and
had it
friends
three
that are
times.
just constantly,
Yeah,
my goodness, just constantly with
but I've had it three
whether it's
times, and I didn't.
COVID or RSV
Yeah.
or the flu, or, I feel for all the parents with kids in daycare. Oh my goodness.
Well, that's the thing,
Always coming home with something
Yeah, I've
the
had
last
it
couple
3
of years.
times, but no symptoms. I've had,
Yeah.
well, I
Hmm.
was completely asymptomatic on one of them. The other time, it was just like an afternoon, I felt extra fatigue. And then in March 2020, a week when I just got back from Europe, when they right before they closed Europe, I had just a sore throat and then some chills. But, none of it wasn't bad enough to stop me. And then I mean, the beginning of the pandemic, I was like everybody else. There was nothing open, so there was nothing to do. But then as it progressed, the karate school where I studied, they're in Long Island. They're not in New York City, so they were open. So I
Hmm.
was there, and the kids' classes were running and everybody was doing it. And the thing is, I think that kind of helped because we're
Yeah.
getting
Mhm.
exposed to when you're teaching kids at karate, it's like a petri dish that
Yep.
you're standing in, and I think it helps. So yeah,
We
it's
all need to be in a petri dish of germs at some
yeah.
point, right,
Go
Joe?
out, get dirty, get your sleep, get your eat well, and it'll work out for you. So,
Yeah.
well, listen, thanks again. Always great talking to you. I love these reports. And just to let everybody know again, the next one that we're going to focus on is going to be all about the shrooms. So,
Uh,
thanks again, and I look forward to catching up with you again.
Absolutely.